Everything good? Quiet, please. Thank you. Good morning and welcome to the New York City hybrid hearing on the Committee on Technology. Please silence all electronic devices. If you have any questions, please raise your hand and one of us, the Sergeant of Arms, will kindly assist you. Please, at no time during or after the hearing, please do not approach the dais. Thank you so much for your kind cooperation. Chair, we are ready to begin.
Thank you. Good morning and welcome to FY25 preliminary budget for the Office of Technology and Innovation, OTI, previously known as the Department of Information and Technology and Telecommunications, or DOIT. I'm Jennifer Gutierrez, Chair of the Committee on Technology. OTI's fiscal 2025 preliminary budget totals $775.2 million, which includes $161.5 million in personnel services funding to support 1,504 full-time positions. The budget also includes nearly $614 million in other than personnel services, of which close to $280 million is allocated to contractual services, the majority of which is allocated for data processing equipment contracts. In the preliminary plan, OTI's fiscal 2025 budget is $8.4 million less than its fiscal 2024 adopted budget. The slight decrease of 1% is mainly driven by a reduction in technology services. Additionally, in the preliminary plan, OTI's budget introduces significant funding in fiscal 2025 for the Big Apple Connect, public safety IT services, and the build-out of a technology platform to support the administration's effort on the asylum seekers crisis. At today's hearing, we will examine many components of the agency's budget and new projects to ensure that New Yorkers and city agencies receive the service they deserve. We would like to focus on a number of topics, including funding changes included in the preliminary plan, costs and services associated with the care of asylum seekers, the spending on the agency's capital projects. In addition, we will review the agency's headcount to ensure that the hiring freeze has not impacted operations. And we'll hear from OTI on the update status of the Big Apple Connect and My City Portal. And finally, we are looking to better understand how our city is preparing safely to embrace the world of artificial intelligence. As always, I'm looking forward to an open conversation with the city's CTO, Commissioner Matt Frazier, on the city's strategy and budget plan moving forward. Before we begin, there's no other member today, so I'd like to thank all of you, the members of the public and the administration, for joining us today. And I want to thank our committee staff for their hard work, including Florentine Cabore, Nia Hayat, Irene Bayovsky, Charles Kim, Connor, and my own staff, Anya Lair and Anna Bessendorf. I'd also like to welcome CTO Matt Frazier, Deputy Commissioner Chantal Senatis, is that right? Senatis, and Deputy Commissioner Ed Pemberton. And before we hear from you all, the committee council will swear you in.
If you could all please raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this committee, and to respond honestly to council member questions?
I do.
Commissioner, you can go ahead.
Oh, fantastic. Good afternoon, Chair Gutierrez and members of the City Council Committee on Technology. My name is Matthew Fraser, and I'm the Chief Technology Officer of New York City. With me is Edwin Pemberton, the Office of Technology and Innovation's Deputy Commissioner for Management and Budget, and Chantal Senatis, OTI's Deputy Commissioner for Legal Matters. Thank you for the opportunity today to speak about OTI's fiscal year 25 preliminary budget, our recent accomplishments, and our priorities for the coming year. At the beginning of his administration, Mayor Adams signed Executive Order 3 to consolidate the city's tech agencies into one entity, the Office of Tech and Innovation. Under the mayor's leadership, OTI convened the city's information technology, cybersecurity, privacy, data and analytics, and 311 employees under one roof with a clear vision to make New York City government run better and bridge the digital divide. As the city's chief technology officer, I'm proud to lead the citywide projects that democratizes access to technology, improves the public interactions with city government, and help our fellow government agencies leverage technology to accomplish their mission. This past year, we also doubled down on our commitment to bridge the digital divide by expanding Big Apple Connect, the nation's largest municipal subsidized broadband program. Today, we provide access to free internet and basic TV to over 330,000 New Yorkers across 220 sites in NYCHA. Citywide, this program enjoys a nearly 80% subscriber rate. In addition to Big Apple Connect, we launched Gigabit Innovation Centers in Brooklyn and Staten Island. Now with one in each borough, the Gigabit Centers enhance access to free internet, tech devices, and digital skills training for students, older adults, and immigrant workers living in historically underserved communities. This past fall, we released the nation's first comprehensive municipal artificial intelligence action plan. This broad plan provides the city agencies the necessary framework to evaluate AI tools and associated risk, helps city government employees build knowledge and skills, and supports the implementation of these tools to benefit New Yorkers. Within the first year, we expect to start or complete 29 of the plan's 37 key items. As recently announced, we're moving full steam ahead with the crucial short-term foundational milestones of the AI Action Plan, including establishing both an interagency steering committee and an external advisory network, unveiling key AI definitions and terms as part of beginning the AI governance policy. There's much more to come on this soon, and I'd be happy to continue to share our progress with Council. 1 year ago this month, we launched the My City Portal, a one-stop shop for essential services and benefits, with a simplified child care subsidy application that made it easier for working families to check eligibility, apply for, and track benefits online. Since My City's launch, over 50,000 accounts have been created, and 32,000 applications have been submitted, resulting in more than 16,000 children potentially receiving subsidies that may have otherwise been difficult to attain or missed altogether. My City expanded with the redesigned the Jobs NYC website, and the new business site, which features the first citywide AI-powered chatbot to date. The chatbot has fielded approximately 12,000 inquiries in the city's almost 11 most common languages. Our efforts to leverage technology to make government run better also includes the launch of New York City Smart Cities Testbed program in October. This program streamlines and accelerates the process of piloting emerging technologies that tackle major challenges facing city governments and New Yorkers. The initial testbed project uses drones to lower greenhouse gas emissions in buildings and air quality improvement monitors to measure real-time air quality. We plan on announcing 8 new pilots this year. Behind the scenes, OTI is also providing space to upskill and reward our city's talented workforce. Within the past year, our Cyber Academy program has graduated employees from over 50 agencies, bolstering the city's cybersecurity workforce and cultivating a closer collaboration between city agencies, and New York City Cyber Command. Additionally, for the second year in a row, OTI spearheaded the Hayes Innovation Prize, which celebrates excellence within the city government workforce. Last year, 15 employees were rewarded with a $1,000 cash prize for using cutting-edge technology to improve services across government. This year's winners will be announced next week. Before I get into the budget numbers, I want to highlight OTI's success in promoting minority and women-owned businesses. In fiscal year 23, OTI processed 315 MWBE procurements totaling more than $245 million in contracts. We also made the most frequent use of any agency of the MWBE non-competitive small procurement method, capitalizing on the evolution of citywide policies and initiatives in the recent years to diversify the businesses and the business owners receiving contracts from the city. Finally, I'd like to briefly summarize OTI's budget. OTI's fiscal year 25 preliminary budget allocates approximately $775.2 million in expense funds. Of this, approximately $161.6 million are for personnel services to support the 1,504 full-time positions, and $613.6 million are for other than personnel services. The preliminary budget had a net increase of $44.7 million for fiscal year 24, which is largely attributed to OTPS expense funding for capital-related projects. Our capital funding for fiscal year 2025 totals $227.9 million for projects related to IT modernization, cybersecurity, 311, and emergency communication systems upgrade. The fiscal year 25 preliminary budget revenue plan is approximately $141.8 million for fiscal year 25. As you're aware, the mayor recently announced that there will not be a PEG exercise in the executive budget and is lifting the full hiring freeze, which will allow OTI to continue hiring for the agency's needs. We're continuing to take proactive steps to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars. Last fiscal year, OTI launched nearly $6 million in telecommunication savings initiative to reduce the monthly cellular rates and deactivate inactive wireless devices. I thank the council for the continued partnership and ongoing efforts to leverage technology to build a more connected, equitable, and safe city for all New Yorkers. And I thank you for the opportunity to testify today. I will now take council member questions.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you to the team once again for testifying this morning. I'd also like to recognize Councilmember Bob Holden, who is joining us remotely. I'd like to start, Commissioner, on new needs that we're anticipating, or just changes to the FY25 preliminary budget. Can you provide any details on the OTPS spending of the $44.8 million according to specific capital projects?
For that question, I defer to our Deputy Commissioner for Management Budget, Edwin Pemberton.
All right.
Hi. Good afternoon. So, OMB and OTI, we work on capital plans, and each capital project may have expense impacts. So, at the time that we make the agreement on the capital CP actually getting approved, the money is added to your budget. So, $44.8 million was dedicated to 311 applications, cyber, infrastructure projects that was already in the queue, and that's when the money is added. So in addition to the capital budget, the expense budget is added and increased to support the CP request.
So, but those new needs are, the capital projects are just 311 and
No,
Cyber Command?
Right. Well, there's like five different projects.
Okay.
5 different
Can
divisions.
you share what they are?
So 311, included in their capital request was $104,000 was added for their projects. Applications, $8 million was added. Cyber had 5.1 million added for cyber. Infrastructure had 27.4, and public safety had 3.9 million added.
So only 311 was 104,000?
Right.
And that, do you know what that's for specifically?
It was probably tied to most of the time, all capital projects maybe like it could be 80% capital and 20% expense. So the majority of that work would probably be tied to maintenance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that right? You can.
Yeah, so over the last year, we upgraded 301's backend systems, both from a telecommunications and a case management perspective. So as Deputy Commissioner Pemberton just pointed, after you complete these programs, there are maintenance that goes along with that. Although the lion's share of the program was done under capital funding, there's still some residual expense funding to maintain licenses and services that aren't capitally eligible. So that was added to the budget.
Thank you. And for infrastructure, 27.9 or 27.4 million?
Yeah, 27.
0.9.
It's about
27.447.
Oh, it's my own handwriting.
Yep.
Can you detail a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. So from the infrastructure, it's a pretty big bucket. So over the last year, we've had a number of programs that focused on upgrading the city's infrastructure.
Okay.
We upgraded the city's backbone network, and we took that from 40 gig to 100 gig. We also made some upgrades to the infrastructure in the back end in our data centers. So we have a program called our FIM, Foundational Infrastructure Management Program, that's taking all of the legacy infrastructure out of the city and replacing that with newer infrastructure that's under support. Now, associated with those programs, each one of those have maintenance or recurring maintenance costs that goes along with that. As part of the capital purchase, we may get licenses or we may get an initial year of support. But when you look at out-year support, that funding typically isn't baseline in the account until it's actualized. So the new needs funding that we got from an infrastructure perspective went to cover licenses, services, and maintenance for the equipment that we purchased and we implemented over the last 2 years.
Okay. And then on the safety, or,
Public safety?
Yeah, public safety.
So public safety is related to the next generation 911 upgrade.
Okay.
So there's components of that's capitally eligible, and there's also components that are not, very similar to what you heard from infrastructure and 311. So the money that was added was to cover the non-capitally eligible items as part of that upgrade.
Thank you. And is there a process for prioritization for these specific, like, capital projects, for example?
Yeah, so the way that we try to measure what we do first, it really depends on impact to our constituency. So we spent a lot of time looking at the initiatives that we have in flight, especially given some of our fiscal challenges due to the migrant crisis. So we've shifted priorities around to focus on the things that are most impactful to people, and we continuously do that exercise to ensure that we're spending money in the places that makes the most sense.
How are you determining that? Does the agency have like a specific matrix to evaluate impact and constituencies?
So it's largely driven as OTI is the tech authority. We work in concert with the authorities that actually run the lines of businesses to determine what's most important to them. Okay. So we in many cases outside of the tech space, any decision or any program that we support is largely driven by the constituency and their feedback, our agencies and their feedback around what's important to their constituency.
Okay. And on Cyber Command, 5.1 million, is that the same?
Yeah, so Cyber Command is interesting because a lot of that is the same, but in some cases it may not be. A lot of the cybersecurity tools are not, some of these things are cloud-based, and depending on how they're procured, some of them may not be capitally eligible. So in that Cyber Command what was the number?
So 5.1?
Yeah, so the 5.1 million, that may actually include the acquisition of products that we just couldn't procure with capital. So it's maintenance.
Is it majority expense?
Yes.
Majority expense, okay. And is there a particular reason with why the agency is using capital dollars to replace expense and not the other way around, like you're doing with Cyber Command?
Well, some of the Cyber Command services, when you look at capital eligibility, it's determined by Controller Directive 10. Mm-hmm. And Directive 10 has parameters that allows us to capitalize some assets and others it won't. As the technology landscape evolves and technology evolves, the manufacturers of technology tend to shift licenses and the costs associated with those things and the things that are in the ways that are most profitable for them. And that doesn't always align with the city's capital procurement guidelines. So we just have to stay within the letter of the law that we can.
Okay. And is this, in these buckets, is Cyber Command the only one that really utilizes this funding swap in this way?
No, it really depends on the services that we're procuring, but the vast majority of services that are capital, we try to stay in that capital bucket unless something makes them capitally ineligible.
Okay. Okay. Can I ask about Project Cupid?
Project Cupid, sure. I'd also defer to the Deputy Commissioner.
Yeah, no, please. So just want to understand how the additional $1 million for licenses and technical support was determined, and is there any new technology being integrated? And just maybe tell us what it is, just for folks that don't know.
So Project Cupid was a program that started during COVID. It was pretty much for carrying the online marriage licenses to help people, they didn't have to actually come in. So it was definitely something that was needed at that time. Mm-hmm. We're carrying the oversight of the project. It's a system build. We were engaged with the city clerk to help build that program very quickly. And it's something that we want to get funded as the program, decisions are made whether to keep the program going. We are getting reimbursed from OMB.
Okay, and I've heard in the last 2 years, I know the first year that it rolled out was a little bumpy, but I've heard pretty good feedback about it. But is the idea to maintain this as like in perpetuity, that New Yorkers can attain their license virtually using Project Cupid?
So we're working with OMB and city clerk to decide exactly what the future would be. And again, it was a system that was just an interim process. So city clerk will be working with OMB to decide how to keep that program going.
Okay. So you're not sure if it's going to be a permanent program beyond
Right, we support
2025?
them. Yeah.
Okay. And so can you tell me how the $1 million for Project Cupid was determined, as far as, that's what we have in our, I see Commissioner Fisher is raising his eyebrows. But can you tell me, how did you land on the $1 million for it? Especially not necessarily knowing that it's going to be permanent, and if there's any new technology that you're going to be integrated or that will be integrated into the program.
So the system was built, and constantly there was enhancements that has to be done throughout the process. So as we maintain and actually interact with city clerk, we have consultants who are actually taking care of all the enhancements while the system is going. So it pretty much pays to support the system.
Okay, and the 1 million was proposed by OTI or the city clerk?
It was proposed by OTI to maintain the system.
Okay, so it's just for maintenance.
Right, maintaining the current system that was built.
Jeez. Okay, feels like a lot. And so do you have any sense of what are the numbers? Like how often, like what are the numbers of folks utilizing this application for licenses? 'Cause I feel like people are trying to go in person, but.
Right, and we did look into it with city clerk, and there was still I'd say 40% of people were using it, but then there was
40%.
there was some issues on are these people disabled? We have to determine before we cut it off what's the impact to society. So that's where it's back to how to maintain this, maybe as a lesser cost, but to make sure we keep ability to have services for all.
Do you have a sense of when you will know if it's going to remain as a permanent program?
Between now and exec plan.
Oh, okay.
So we'll finalize
Gotcha.
Who's going to maintain it and how much projected services will be
Wonderful.
impacted.
Okay, I think it's a cute title. I just want to ask about HRO, or Housing Recovery Office. The Mayor's Office of Housing Recovery Operations, HRO, administers the Build It Back program, which has helped approximately 12,500 families recover from Hurricane Sandy. I know that some agencies manage their own tech infrastructure. What is the role of OTI related to homeowner services?
So HRO is under OTI, and we received $1 million this plan to fund software licenses and telecommunication costs. OTI provides administrative services for this agency, and we definitely are supportive of them for all their systems, and including HR functions and those things that they need for the administration.
It's just $1 million. It's $1 million for just administration?
Well, $1 million
Administrative service?
covers the software and licenses and telecommunication cost that they need.
Okay. You got something to add?
Yeah, no, that's right. So HRO, the entire office, there's the tech side of the operation and there's the business side. As OTI does for many entities, we serve the technical arm of the Housing Recovery Office. So when it comes to building their case management system, when it comes to providing them with support on the tech end of the spectrum, that's where we come in for that office. And the $1 million is to support the licenses associated with their CMS and the other telecommunications services associated with that.
Okay, great, thank you. I wanted to ask about other adjustments. The preliminary plan includes city funds of $580,320 in FY24 and $1.5 million in FY25, as well as in the out years for costs associated with 13 additional information technology positions for the Office of Economic Opportunity. Can you share a little bit about what the rationale behind the addition of 13 of those positions?
For the Office of Economic Opportunity.
Yeah.
So what essentially happened as we performed the consolidation, what we found was there were a number of resources that were focused on tech-related functions, but they weren't in a tech agency. So the Office of Economic Opportunity, they had a number of data scientists that were working on public benefits-related programs. And instead of having those data scientists live in an island where they were only working with them with themselves, we consolidated them with the Office of Data and Analytics, and we pulled those resources in so that they could work on citywide programs using the same tools and tactics that they would put in place on the public benefit side and bringing that value across the entire city's tech portfolio.
So they're working in the Brooklyn
That is
office
correct.
as well? Okay.
That is correct.
And what can you expand on what the type of positions that are going to be added?
So these were resources that were already in place.
Mm-hmm.
So they are database analysts. They were data scientists. Some of them were systems engineers. These are resources that are there.
So these are not new positions necessarily?
Not new positions.
That's what I'm asking, because you said that these were positions that were already in place. My understanding was that it was 13 additional information technology positions for the Office of Economic Opportunity.
Right. So the 13 additional positions that came into OTI were transferred from another agency because they weren't
So
at
there's
OTI.
I see. Okay.
That is correct.
Okay, and then I'm sorry I interrupted you. The types of position you said it's data analyst.
It's data scientists, business analysts, folks that were working on building programs and systems associated with economic opportunities portfolio. So we just consolidated them into
Okay.
OTA.
Okay. I'd like to ask about PEGS, specifically the Civic Engagement Commission. So the preliminary plan includes OTPS reduction of $366,000 in FY 2024, $1.6 million in FY 2025, and $1.1 beginning FY 26. What can you tell me about why CEC funding is reduced through these fiscal years, particularly with the upcoming citywide elections?
Yeah, so I would love to provide more insight in that. Unfortunately, we can't do that without the head of Civic Engagement Commission being here. So
Okay.
I would defer counsel to the head of CEC to talk about the prioritization of the efforts on that end.
Okay. Is there a connection between CEC and OTI though? Is it you assist?
So CEC headcount and administratively sits under OTI, right? For the city, it makes sense to have fewer shops that are focused on HR, fewer shops that are focused on administration, and bringing them into one. So that's why they sit under OTI right now. But in terms of prioritizing the business aspects of it, the CEC works very closely with our deputy mayor of economic development to sort of prioritize the things that are
Okay.
important for them.
Okay, so you can't speak to any of their budget.
Unfortunately, I cannot speak to that without them present.
No worries, we'll get it to them. Still, in the preliminary plan includes PEG savings of $356K in FY '24 related to OTI contracts that were renegotiated with vendors for better rates and discounts. Can you share how that PEG savings was calculated?
So what we basically did was we took a look at our largest contracts and we looked at the city's volume spend, and we went back to the providers of the technology, the providers of the services, and we renegotiated the deal. One of the things that we looked at as we put the Office of Tech and Innovation together was the fact that the city didn't take advantage of its total buying power. So every agency approached a contract, every agency approached a vendor as an individual entity, and because of that, there was a large disparity in the number of the volume of discounts that we're getting as a city. So when we did simple things like taking a look at our telecommunication savings, we went to the major carriers, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, and we renegotiated the amount that we were paying on just pure wireless services. Our average discount across the carriers went down by over $5 a month, and those total savings netted us in the tens of millions annually, right? So for us, I think in terms of how that was accomplished, it was looking at the years where we spent the most and just going to renegotiate as the city versus as an individual entity.
And did you do the same with all your vendors or just with your largest vendors?
We're in the process of doing that across the entire spectrum. And in addition to that, we're also looking at how we can get more competitive agreements in place for services that we know we're going to purchase and services that we purchase in large volume, instead of the traditional rates that we see on OGS or GSA rates, getting them to come more competitive because of the city's size and volume.
Yeah, and from those negotiations, have there been any like best practices or lessons learned from the way that the city approaches these negotiations? Obviously this year and last year with the pressure of a PEG, but how are you thinking through the longevity of these like negotiations moving forward?
So one of the things we put in place across the city was a spend review, an IT spend review. So any procurement that's going through over, I believe, thresholds $1 million, the Office of Tech and Innovation gets its eyes on it first. Okay. So it gives us the ability to create a catch-all. So if an agency is looking to do an initiative, and in one case, we saw an agency looking to purchase network equipment, and we were able, just by reviewing the order and renegotiating the agreement, we were able to save over $1 million in terms of costs. Because we saw the volume of discount that a large agency got, we were able to bring that into a smaller agency. So in terms of the best practices that we've seen, it's being more mindful of where we're spending and actually reviewing the procurements before they go out, and stop the process of every agency just buying on their own and leverage the city's total buying power.
On the in your opening remarks, you mentioned the successful promotion of MWBE contracts. Can you share if any of those that were in your the $245 million in contracts, are these new contracts, or these are included in sort of the renegotiation for PEG savings as well?
So I defer to the Deputy Commissioner for Management Budget.
So as the city's threshold increases, we're allowed now to bring in more vendors, and we're targeting MWBE vendors with the mayor's office to make sure that they get a fair share. What happens in our procurement world is, even though you're a prime contractor, we now require prime contractors to sub with MWBEs. Mm-hmm. So yes, they used to get 100% of a certain volume of manufacturing product or services. We're adding in requirements in these contracts that they must sub to MWBEs. That helps grow the amount of participation in the program. Plus, we're pulling together smaller groups of products to bid only to MWBEs. So we're able to take information, data, and target these smaller groups, and now have them to increase the volume for the city.
So thank you. And just so that I understand the sequence, I mean, I'm certainly supportive of the 315 MWBE procurements. I think that's really great. Did that come from the PEG savings assessment specifically, where
No.
you're, okay.
No.
Okay. And do you have a sense of how many vendors that were assessed under the PEG savings program? Of them, how many of them were MWBE vendors already existing, not part of the new procurement?
We'll have to get back to you on the 356.
No. So because the 356, the 356 seems to me like it's kind of a newer integration, which is great. I'm asking specifically about the vendors that you were all assessing as part of the PEG savings program. How many of those that you're now renegotiating with are MWBEs?
So we would definitely have to come back to you with that
Okay.
statistic. We don't have that on hand.
Yeah. Okay. I would like to. No one else is here. Okay. I would like to just shift over to asylum seeker support. I know we've had a number of conversations around this, so as much as you can expand. The preliminary plan includes $80.7 million in FY 2024, with a sum of $90 million in FY 2025 for costs associated with the city's care for asylum seekers. And there is a $60 million difference in funding between FY 2025 preliminary budget and FY 2024 adopted budget of $30 million. Can you explain the large increase and what it will cover?
So a lot of what's a lot of what we're experiencing with the asylum seeker program is that the rules and policies governing the program, not just at a city level, but at a federal and state level, are shifting. And as the landscape shifts, we have to update the applications and services to both track and enhance what we're providing to that community of people. For us, over the last year, we went from work authorization all the way through the influx of additional people coming in and having more entities involved in the pipeline. And due to those reasons, we had to make subsequent updates to the system to accommodate that. The additional cost is to handle the projected volume and the and the upcoming enhancements around both city policies and federal policies around the folks that are in this particular community. And that's pretty much what that is, a reflection of building a ship as you're driving it, right?
Yeah. So, okay, I maybe we're getting different numbers though, because my understanding is they're projecting less migrant. So just curious on where you all see the increase of services or the increase in the budget, despite there being less migrants expected.
Right. So although there are less people coming through the door, there's still a significant number of people in the system. So how do you graduate people out of the system? Once people are out of the system, how do you also graduate them into short-term housing, long-term housing? How do you graduate them into employment options so that they don't return back into the system? In addition to that, for everyone that's coming in and coming out, as the federal policies also change, how do we stay in constant communication to make sure that information is shared forward? The business end of the aspect from the asylum seeker program, I would love to go into further detail, but we're limited because, again, we operate the technology arm.
Yeah.
The decisions behind what drives the program and what drives our priorities comes from the portfolio for the Deputy Mayor of Health and Human Services. So I would think we would need a consortium of people to talk about what drives those priorities.
And are the services purely technology?
Yeah, that's the only thing. And yep.
Can you expand a little bit on what it is, just from like infrastructure at shelters, like devices, like specifically what?
Sure, it's everything from the case management system to the Wi-Fi that's at the shelters, to the underlying infrastructure that provides telecommunication services so people can maintain in contact and call back home. In addition to that, it may provide devices. I mean, it's pure technology.
And are shelters, does part of the OTI contract also include any like IT or technical support at the specific locations, at the specific shelters or HERCs?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And can you share a little, just to aggregate how much funding goes where? So do you have a sense of how much funding is specifically for Wi-Fi setup and how much is specifically for the case management application?
Yeah, for the budget details, I defer to the Deputy Commissioner for Management and Budget.
So in that budget includes facilities build up from tent operations to like CTO Fraser said, telecom, Wi-Fi, running cables. So right now we have close to $10 million, well, $9 million dedicated to just facility related work. Then in addition to that, we have site cost, which is support, close to another 10 million. The rest is in more software and technology systems, creating a tracking case management system
Okay.
to monitor the intake.
Okay, so about 60 million is just for software maintenance?
Well, system build outs, and especially when each facility has like different parameters that must be built. So when you get to a site, there's always these enhancement modification to the current system. So it covers every time they launch a new site.
Sure. I'm just trying to, of the 81 million, let's say, in the preliminary plan, just trying to understand what goes where. So based on your response, around 9 million is just for the facility?
Facility build outs, right?
And then 9 million is for the site?
Site cost support.
Okay,
right?
that's the application that they use for case management, or?
I think more like the resources personnel. And then we have more software and technology that's built into remaining funds.
Okay. Does that feel? I don't. Okay. You got something to add?
Yeah. So, look, if you look at it in three big buckets, we have when we arrive at a site, this building out an entire site. So from the moment we walk in, making sure that there's connectivity, making sure that the cameras that are in the site are actually operational, making sure that people have telecommunication services, like that's the site build out. Post site build out, then there's also services that are allocated to ensure that the things that are there keep running. So we have resources on the ground at each shelter, or each, I shouldn't say shelter, but at each site to ensure that if there are any issues during normal operating hours, that we have resources that can help maintain and triage the issues as they arise. In addition to those two, you have the site build out and you have the site maintenance, right? Site build out is the initial cost that it takes to put everything up. Site maintenance includes the monthly recurring costs to keep things running. Plus, that includes professional services, maintenance on the equipment, and the monthly recurring costs on network charges and things along that lines. Outside of those two buckets, then you have application development efforts, which build the system that we commonly refer to as HOST. And that's the case management system that manages between the three coordinating entities within the city, manages the asylum seekers as they come into the system and out of the system.
And then back in. Is that
And
it's the same application?
It's the same application.
Okay. Okay. Is there any additional anything additional in those examples where, as you know, there's the 30-60-day rule now? Is there anything? Did you have to contract it separately or any kind of separate system for after those announcements were made to make sure we were capturing information for these folks?
Yeah, so that's a very good example. As the 30-day rule was put in place, 60-day rule, as it was put in place, for us, we had to make updates to the system so that we could, one, identify the population of people that were already at that threshold, and how do we start a countdown clock to make sure that anyone that was at that threshold, that we could monitor them going forward. Make sure that anyone that came in, we kept the running clock. And then if they showed up at a different site after leaving one, that we could ensure that they weren't getting duplicate benefits by trying to use the scale and volume of the system to go to different sites to get that clock restarted every time. So we had to make updates in the system to look at where people went, look at where how long they'd been there, and to ensure that across every system between DSS, NISM, and Health and Hospitals, the three coordinating entities, making sure that between all three of those places that we had one common view at the same person coming in and out of the system.
Yeah, and so was this an example of where you needed to? Is this system in-house or this is a vendor that works on the host?
It's a mixture.
Okay,
Mixture of two.
and was this an example of like we need to do more, so we're gonna have to pay more for this?
It's we've built something, and now there's something that we've built now needs to change to conform to a new rule, and that has to be paid for. So we had to update
Yeah.
it. Yep.
So we're paying more to kick people out within 30 days. and
I
welcome them
wouldn't
back
say
to the
that
system.
we're paying.
We are. I get what you're saying, but we are though.
I mean, it's semantics. You can say we are, but it doesn't necessarily.
You just said it. It's not semantics.
No, that's not what I said. I said we had to update the system to accommodate the business process.
Right. And then I asked, does that mean are we paying a vendor? Is it a combination of OTI or a vendor that's managing this host site? And are we having to do more? Are we having to pay more to be able to make those changes? That's fine if that's what it is.
I mean, paying more to kick people out is I think an
We're paying more to accommodate, to respond to this rule
We're paying more to conform with new business policies
of the rule.
of many rules.
Okay, I'm asking specifically about this one.
yeah.
My concern is initially amongst many concerns was, it was just how is it gonna look when people leave, in the first round, the Hercs, and then they're gonna go to the St. Bridget's and then back. And so in my head, I was like, this just feels like it's like a lot more for the folks kind of managing the system. So that's where I'm coming from.
So I think a better way to look at it perhaps is that if you have someone that comes into a system and then you have a catalog of city services that you can, as they leave the system, graduate them into shorter term and longer term care. I think that's where we prioritize.
I get the administration's
Yeah.
perspective. I got it. Can you share what the vendors are that you're working with specific to the asylum response?
Sure. For that, I defer to the Deputy Commissioner for Management and Budget.
So the vendors that we primarily use are MTX, IBC, Mason for technology, and I think that's probably the
Yeah.
main three.
So our top three in terms of maintaining hosts, the case management system is MTX. In addition to MTX, we have IBC, which is used for both QA support and data. And Mason, which Ed just mentioned, is used for site build-out infrastructure. So when you think about running cable, there are local 3
When you
electricians.
get there.
Yes, there are local 3 electricians that go in the ground and actually run the cable for us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And are these vendors that you've been contracted, that you've worked with before, that OTI has worked with before?
Yeah, so many of the vendors that are in place are vendors that sat on city requirements contracts that have experience doing programs of similar size and scale.
Okay. But there had been a vetting process because you'd had existing vendor relationships is what I'm asking,
Yeah.
prior to the asylum response.
Right.
Okay.
So there's a pre-vet to get on the requirements contracts, and then depending on the type of services, there's a bid to get someone in.
Okay. I have this. And MTX, I'm sorry, is the vendor that does host?
That is correct. They're one of.
What? Oh, okay. And then you said OTI does some of it as well?
OTI does some of it. It's an initiative that's run between, like, vendors can't operate in a vacuum, so we have city resources that work in concert with them to deliver the systems.
And the contracts are how long? For how long?
So it depends on each scope of work. When we started the program, we did not know how long we would expect to be here. So I think to get to that level of detail, we'd be glad to go through with council each contract and the date and the duration of the contract, the end date. We can provide a detailed list shortly following this.
Okay, great. And on MTX, is this a vendor that you'd used? In what capacity had the city had a relationship with them? Do you know before?
I'd say our relationship with MTX would be like any relationship that we have with the vendor. They sit on a requirements contract. Some of the notable work that they've done prior to this includes work around our response to COVID, which is prior to the start of this administration.
Okay.
They helped build the recovery portal, the vaccination portal on the COVID end.
Okay.
And then
it.
a number of other things across the city, but that's the most notable
Yeah.
thing of size and scale.
Yeah, I think I've heard of them. And is this particular contract with them? Is this? Do you know if this one's a year?
It's a 1 year.
1 year.
1 year contract.
Okay. Okay. Do you have a feeling? Do you think that there is any use for city agencies to use this technology, or just like reconvert this system when the city doesn't need to use it moving forward?
100%. So I think a lot of what we're building now, very similar. I mean, earlier we spoke about the Office of Housing Recovery Operations. I mean, you look at something like Sandy, it hits the city. You have billions of dollars of damage, and there's no way to manage the recovery of that effort. So one of the lessons that we learned post-Sandy was that instead of decommissioning after you finish dealing with the emergency, decommissioning those systems, figuring out the agencies that should own it long-term and build it into their operations to maintain it should the city ever need it again. So a lot of the infrastructure that we're building out, it lays foundational updates on other systems like CARES and other things like that manage our existing shelter system today. Should we see something like this again in the future, we would have the capability to respond to it.
Great. And my last question on the asylum seeker support. With the second phase of cuts on asylum seeker costs, does OTI anticipate there will be a reduction in asylum seeker funding in the executive plan?
I defer to the Deputy Commissioner for Management Budget.
So we have worked with OMB on some proposals where we're trying to reduce the cost of these to spend. A lot of the costs will be looked at as is there a way to either renegotiate the current contracts or rebid certain services included in some of these terms.
Do you anticipate, how much do you anticipate will be reduced?
Well, that's the goal. We're trying to get to, the mayor announced reductions, and we're trying to meet those targets by renegotiating current contracts or resoliciting the proposals.
So you're trying to meet the
Targets, yeah.
Okay. Okay. I am going to shift to Big Apple Connect.
I love that.
Okay. I wanted to succeed. I think I'm encouraged by what you mentioned in your opening remarks. 80% of public housing tenants, right? Just
That's-
about
that's correct.
connected, which is great. Obviously, we're in the longer fight for ACP as well. So I think Big Apple Connect plays a really crucial role in maintaining connectivity when federal dollars are not serving this particular need. Our understanding is that the program has expanded to cover all NYCHA residents. That is correct?
That is correct.
All NYCHA developments.
That is correct.
That's great. But not
With the exception of RAD.
of red. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So rough how many NYCHA developments is that?
220.
220. Are there conversations about extending into developments?
So we've
Brad?
we've had some conversations on that front. As part of the management agreement, there's a broadband, a high-speed broadband.
The whole time.
Yeah, there's a high-speed broadband entitlement that's a part of that, and we're trying to examine as the management companies take over, how quickly can they provide that service, or if they have something comparable. We don't want to be in a position where the city is expending capital through paying a management agreement that includes the fees for broadband, and then we cover it under the Big Apple Connect side. So it's a constant conversation, or there's a conversation in place between NYCHA and those that are taking over on the management end to see what we can do by pushing the program forward on that end as well.
And is it NYCHA specifically, or would it be through the individual management companies at those NYCHA developments?
So the agreements are extended between NYCHA and the management companies, but the commitment is in the agreement with the management companies to provide the service.
Okay. So at this point, when the 220 developments, which are all NYCHA non-RAD, they've all been connected as of FY24?
That is correct.
Okay. And now we did see there's an increased budget for Big Apple Connect in FY25. Can you explain why?
Because as adoption goes up, we incur additional costs. Remember, what we pay annually, we're not paying, we only pay for what people actually consume. So that 80% adoption rate, that's what we're actually incurring the cost for. So as adoption continues to increase, then the cost of the program will go up according with that as well.
Okay. And then the providers of the internet service remain Altice
And Charter Communication.
and Charter. Okay. Has there been any progress in working with Verizon or any of the other providers or smaller providers?
The foundation of Big Apple Connect is built off the city's cable franchise agreement because it's more than just broadband connectivity, it's broadband and basic TV. We've had conversations with Verizon, but unfortunately at this moment, we haven't been in a space where the conversations have yielded anything that puts us in a position to move in that direction. Our foundational, in addition to providing connectivity, we have to be fiscally responsible. And the providers that we are currently contracted with allows us to provide the service at a cost that the city can justify.
Okay. Does the administration plan to renew its contracts with those two providers after the 3-year period concludes next fall?
It's next fall.
Next fall. Are you
So-
looking to renew?
Yeah, so our intention is to continue to maintain the service. It's a critical service, and as we saw during the pandemic and even in today's modern era, we had a couple of weeks ago, we had a snow day where kids had to go home. Imagine being in public housing, you went home and you didn't have access to broadband. That's not a reality that any kid should face. So until we have a viable alternative to the program, we will continue to push the program forward.
Okay. And just kind of foreshadowing, every year this program potentially could cost more every year.
You would reach a cap at a point when you reach 100%
100%,
adoption, and we have the forecast for that number. For us, a lot of the funding, or the funding that supports Big Apple Connect, comes from legacy NiceWin funding. NiceWin had about $42 million baselined in what was then due its operating expense budget, and Big Apple Connect still falls short of that baseline operating expense.
Thank you. And can you share, do you have it now, what that would look like with 100% connectivity?
We can go through the projections, and then we can go through the projections with regular market increases, and we can provide that after this. One of the things, since we're talking about Big Apple Connect, I just think it's important to emphasize. This administration, among the many things that we've done that was smart, we've made a very smart decision with Big Apple Connect, because as we can see recently on the national level, ACP, they've announced that funding will be discontinued.
Yeah.
So at a time when we were pushing a municipal broadband program, there were many that said we should rely on ACP, many. And I think that the residents of NYCHA and public housing in New York City, as that program sunsets, now live in a reality where it doesn't mean their quality of life is impacted.
Yeah.
So I think it's just an important thing to know at school.
There's your flowers,
Yeah,
Mr.
yeah.
Commissioner. Well, I think, and we had that hearing, I think probably in this room in the fall, the same day that it was announced. And I think there was concern about the lifeline of what we could be, what the city was going to be able to pay moving forward. Certainly with this ominous, like, we've got to make cuts. As obviously the administration's tune has changed because of, like just different revenue. And I think certainly a priority from you and many colleagues here of like this, if it works, we want to be able to invest in it. So I think that was like a lot of it was like, hey, ACP is out here. But I agree. I think it's been a really good system to ensure that we're thinking about connectivity for everybody, starting with public housing tenants. Of course, I'd like to see more. And I know we've had preliminary conversations where the pocket of need is, yes, in public housing, but in a lot of other parts of the city. So what is the approach there for, I know very, very like preliminarily we were like, what about for developments like project-based Section 8 developments that are, I get it, we can track it in that way, but how have those conversations evolved since launching Big Apple Connect? What is the agency thinking? How can they do more?
Yeah. So in addition to Big Apple Connect, we have the Link NYC program, where we also, in addition to running the largest municipal in-building broadband program, we run the largest municipal public Wi-Fi program. And that continues to be a great success. I mean, month to month, we see usage go up. We see the number of calls made from those devices also go up. In addition to that, we launched a gigabit center in every borough. I mean, one in every borough is not enough. We'll continue to push the envelope to see what else we can do in that space. And we're also looking at, as you mentioned, programs like Section 8. How can we extend the rate plans that we get with Big Apple Connect to buildings that are eligible in that space? We as a city, and as part of the mayor's administration, the mayor ran on a working people's agenda. And it's ensuring that the people of the city that are our constituents, they benefit from the capital that the city extends. To that end, we've worked very closely with folks at public housing, folks at HPD, folks at the Office of Economic Opportunity, to take a look at services that we render, where we can piggyback on those services and also add digital services to that. So I think within the next year or so, certainly within the next year, we're going to make some major strides in many of these areas, and I'd be glad to give a council an update once we get to one of those points. But we've got plans.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I think it's really important. We would love to hear more about that. Certainly, the Link NYC kiosks. Obviously, I think. I think they're very helpful. City Bridge has been here a number of times, really encouraged by kind of their long-term thinking as well. But I think the whole conversation around Big Apple Connect, ACP even raised this very important idea that it's like a utility. Internet
Yep.
is not a luxury, right? And so has the OTI thought about how to connect with those folks that are enrolled in ACP that are going to be, losing a service if they can't afford to keep it, to pay for it on their own? Are you thinking through that? Are you all thinking about how to capture that last 20% of NYCHA residents that are not connected. What is some of the reasons? And I've had some chats with Charter, for example, but just curious, kind of like what are some of the reasons folks are not able to connect and be enrolled in the program?
I think one of the big reasons is the fact that we live in New York City and most people are skeptical of anything that's free. So, like,
Yeah.
you give me a free service, no cost. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
All right. Over the last year, we gained a lot of momentum, especially in the summer. We went out to NYCHA Family Days. We had mass enrollment events. And because of that, working in concert
Yeah, we
with
did,
you and
yeah,
other
Borinquen.
members, we were able to get the word out. So we're going to continue to push very heavily in areas like through our community boards. We're going to push using our community affairs arm. And we're going to get out into developments with the TEAs to make sure that people that don't know the program's available, let them know that it's available, and let them hear some of the success that their residents and their partners have had. I think that's going to be our path to success. Working to get mailers out under every door so that they know that it's available. It's going to be our traditional, like, grassroots way, getting out, knocking on doors, and letting people
And
know.
is that engagement piece, is that up to OTI or the particular service provider in that
So
development?
it's a combination effort, right? In the words of the mayor, if you don't inspect what you expect, everything is suspect.
God.
People like that, right? Yeah. All right.
That's what the laughing is about. Yo.
Yeah, I'm a student of Adams. But there's a lot of truth behind that, right? If you don't inspect what you expect, it's suspect.
But no, I understand.
So
I'm
we-
just
we
asking,
get out
like,
with-
the role that like, I didn't know you guys had like an engagement arm, OTI. So that was my question.
Oh, so-
And like, yeah.
When I say an engagement arm, we work in concert with the various agencies' engagement arms. So when I say community affairs, there are community board meetings, and then we have representatives from public housing. We have representatives from public safety. We have representatives, when I say public safety, places like NYCHA, places like NYPD that have massive community affairs arms. Unifying the message
With
around
stakeholders that are
exactly.
doing that. Okay.
Using them to magnify the message.
And okay, I think that's great. Are there any? Maybe I don't. Maybe you don't have this today, but what are some of the? I'm just thinking about like my developments. For example, Borinquen. I think it's like 82% of residents speak only Spanish, right? So are you hearing that in those developments? It's like maybe it is a language issue, kind of. How are you looking to be able to combat that? Is there any households that are like, we don't have devices, like why would we need the internet? What happens with that information once they've closed the door and they said we don't want this?
Right.
Is there anything captured from that engagement that you look at to be like, we really care about this household being connected? These are some of the things that we can help with.
Right. So I'd like to say it's a good conversation to have. I feel like we're a victim of our success. 20% left, we're going to get. In many cases, we have representatives that are on the ground that speak multiple languages. So when we have Charter Communications come out, or Altice, they come out with support that supports more than just one language. In addition to that, the mailers, the flyers that we have also come in multiple languages as well. We don't. I can't speak definitively about it, but I can't tell you that I've heard or I've seen that language is the barrier for adoption. I think it's more about awareness and skepticism.
Yeah,
Because-
just curious
yeah.
what it is. I
Yeah.
don't know that it's just language, but what
I believe it's awareness. Some people may not be aware that it's available, but in addition to that, I think of that percentage, there's a large portion of people that may be skeptical. Like they think that there's some catch that comes along with the program.
Yeah. If you could, I mean, I don't know if this is like, if this is done through like surveys, but obviously one of the big pushes here is digital literacy. And so curious if in those engagements, either with stakeholders or Charter or Altice, if they're able to capture instances where people are just like, we wouldn't know how to, like, this is real. Like, we don't know. We don't have a device, or I'm this age and I don't want a device. I think it's going to help us advocate for those programs at the centers. It's just really important. So I don't know to what extent you can help with that, but I think that would be really meaningful to have any and all of that data where it's like, we think there's an issue of just like training and knowing how to utilize this product and how we can help support that.
I think you're spot on, right? The challenge, if you look at the digital divide or digital equity, it's more than just access. If you look at it, there's an old proverb, a biblical proverb maybe. You give a person a fish, they'll eat for a day. You teach them how to fish, they'll eat for a lifetime. Giving somebody one-time access to broadband, walking into a center and using a computer, that's a one-time thing. But then giving them access in their home, giving them a device where they can use it with, and then giving them the skills so that they know how to use the device to get the things that they need, to get upskilled, to get employment, to do schoolwork. I think like that's the space that we need to get to. So I'm happy to say that across the public housing space, we've solved the access challenge. Access is now a thing that we can put on the back seat. Now we can look at how we can get more devices in hands and also bring some of those skills programs together. So the folks in our franchise administration arm are working very closely with the folks in workforce development to see how we can get some of those skills programs native in the developments themselves. So instead of having to travel somewhere, bring the program to you so that you don't have to leave to get it. And then by doing that, you may have more people that will partake because it's local.
And I'm sorry, who is doing this work? You said partners, or who is?
So this work is being led by Brett Sykoff and my team.
Okay.
He's my director for franchise administration.
I know him, yeah.
Brett's a very good person. Also a child.
He's hanging out back there.
He's hanging out back there, but he's also, and this is where.
Is it safe to say there's a component of like literacy and training that you are all taking on now?
100%.
Okay.
100%. Yes.
Okay.
There's
This
a
is
portion
new.
of that. So it's a new approach because if you
Specific to OTI, I know that because in the past you've said that there's agencies that do this. So.
Yeah, it's new for OTI to embark into this territory,
Mm-hmm.
but if you want something that you've never had, you have to do things that you've never done, and that's what we're doing.
Got it. I'd like to acknowledge Councilmember Eric Botcher, who's joined us. Welcome. And can you just, for the households that are currently enrolled with ACP, is there any specific work that OTI is doing to keep them connected?
Yeah, so we're continuing to lobby at the federal level to let them know how important the program is. In addition to that, we're taking a hard look at how we can get programs like Big Apple Connect, at least the rate plans, extended out. Because of the ACP programs, most of the telecommunications providers have a Lifeline service package that gives you internet service at a very, very low rate. But that internet service may not be at the threshold that Big Apple Connect is. So continuing to push the envelope with our partners to see if we can get Big Apple Connect-like services at Big Apple Connect-like rates available to those that are using ACP. It may not be able to solve the entire challenge, but it lightens the burden on those individuals that are now losing a benefit that they depend on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. 1 second. Yeah, I'm gonna pass it to Councilmember Botcher for his questions. Give you a break. Yeah.
No, okay, no, I like
Good
this.
afternoon. The preliminary plan includes almost 2.7 million more for 311 operations in fiscal 225 as compared to the fiscal 2024 adopted budget. What accounts for the increase in the budget for 311 in particular?
So for 311, there's a number of things that are not baselined in 311's operating expense. During the pandemic, with the increased call volume that we saw and the wait times that we saw, one of the things that we also brought in was a third-party support vendor to help support 311 phone calls that surge. So when we have periods of times where 311 call volume surges, we bring in a third-party vendor that helps field some of those calls. And that gives us the capability to bring down the total wait time across the entire 311 call population. In addition to that, there's some upgrades that we're making to 311's core systems. So we recently put some systems in place. Agencies have policy updates that change the level of service that people get out of 311, so we also have to update the back end to support that.
What's your opinion of 311 when you came in January of 2022, took a look at 311? What were your thoughts on it then, and what areas of improvement do you think existed then, and how do you think it's improved in the last couple of years?
Okay, so I think one of the things that you can look at is the stats around 311. So every year for the last, and it's been more than the last 3 years, but it's been the last decade. Every year, consistently, public sentiment and satisfaction around 311 has gone up. So here's a fun fact for those that don't know. Now you see, council member, you gotta be open, be a little open.
He already has a follow-up question on that.
All right, so I'll give you some fun facts around 311. 311, it's of course a call center run by New York City, but we have the highest rating in terms of center satisfaction with our call center agents than even Fortune 50 companies in their call center lines. Now, there's a big difference between public satisfaction with 311 and public satisfaction with the service that they get as a result of calling 311. The folks that are under the Office of Tech and Innovation answer the calls, takes the information, and routes it to the agencies. Public satisfaction around how the agencies respond are not as good as they feel about the people who are answering the phone calls. So out of the surveys that we do, every person that gets a 311 phone call, we give them an option to participate in the survey. 9 out of 10 people that take that survey rates 311 call center agents a 10, well, 10 is the top number, a 10. So 9 out of 10 people in New York that take that survey believe that 311 call center agents are doing a great job. Getting 9 out of 10 people in New York to agree on anything is nothing short of a miracle, but they agree that 311 is okay.
I love the 311 agents. I think they're great, and they always have been.
All right.
And they're really, really wonderful to speak to and super helpful and responsive in my personal experience. The arguably more important piece is what happens after. And could you tell us how your surveys capture that level of satisfaction?
Yes. So we've recently put in a dashboard across the administration so we can start to take a look at public sentiment around our response to 311 jobs. We call it our resolution satisfaction dashboard. And very similar to how we rate our call center agents after a call is concluded, after a service has been marked as concluded, we send a survey out to those that opt in so that they can give us their level of satisfaction. What you wouldn't be surprised to find that their level of satisfaction with the work that's been completed is very different than their level of satisfaction with the call center agents, as you just mentioned. So when we looked at this, we had the information coming in, and we realized that there wasn't a vehicle or a venue for agencies to look at it. So the mayor has talked very publicly about a program called NYC Stat, where he'd like the ability to look at the operating metrics of the city so that he can lead the city ship in a better direction. Now, for the first time ever, we have a dashboard where we can look at public satisfaction and sentiment in real time around our response to 311 jobs, and we can use that to correct some of that. Now, there's a number of factors that come into play here. I think some of them is a misalignment in terms of expectations. What an agency believes to be a completed service versus what the public believes to be a completed service. And that misalignment of expectation leads us in a position where many people are not satisfied. So I think the dashboard gives us insight into how people are feeling, and it tells us the story of what we can do about our response to make that better.
Is the dashboard data available on the Open Data portal?
So all the data is available in Open Data, but we leave it, it's open and people can analyze it. But the dashboard that we built internally, very soon we have a public version of that that's coming out so the public can see it themselves.
Well, great. When do you think that'll be ready?
I wish I could tell you when then will be now, but I believe by the end of the second quarter of this year, latest by the end of the third quarter, it'll be ready.
That's exciting, and it'd be great to have a briefing of the council members of how we could look at that and interact with that. That'd be very helpful to us in our district offices.
Sure thing. So what we will do following this is we'll set up a demonstration so you can see how it looks, so you can see the feedback that we're getting back, and we gladly give an early preview to anyone that wants it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Councilmember Boucher. I'd like to ask some questions from committee member, Councilmember Bob Holden.
Holden.
in his voice, okay? No. No, I'm kidding. First question is, can you provide an update on the current status of the implementation of Local Law 66 of 2021, particularly regarding the assessment of the 311 interactive maps location accuracy?
For that, I'll defer to my general counsel.
Local Law 66 of 2021.
Actually,
Do you know it? Oh, sorry. We're going to pull it up. Give it 1 second.
great, thank you.
Okay. In the meantime, let's come back. Can I ask about my city portal?
Sure.
And thank you. I got to do kind of an early mod simulation of the app, and I'm again encouraged by the remarks in your opening testimony about, you know, how many people created accounts, how many people applied, and how many people have been connected to childcare, for example. I think that's really positive. Now, I understand in the preliminary plan the program is funded at $6.2 million, and then in FY 2025, $35.6 million less than FY 2024 adopted budget of $41.8 million. Can you explain the large decrease and why?
So for the decrease in the specific metrics, I'll defer to the Deputy Commissioner for
Yeah.
Management Budget.
And I can provide more context. And those are the numbers that I have. In the preliminary plan, program is funded at $6.2 million for FY 2025, $35.6 million less than FY 2024 of $41.8 million.
Right. So currently, OTI is funded at like 41.8 million. We are always reviewing budgets with OMB because we have to look at the overall cost, and so there's never a final number for 25 until like between Jan and exec. We'll be able to share what the new projections will be in the out years.
Sure. Just 35.6 million is significant. So is there anything, we'll wait obviously for the executive plan. Just seems like a really large gap where 35.6 is projected in the preliminary plan. But do you have any sense of why why there's such a difference?
Well,
Is there anything changing to the services or?
It wasn't decreased. It was I think it's a one-time funding that was given to 24 and not extended in 25. So it's really just that OMB is constantly reviewing each project, and funding is added to the plan on an as-need basis.
So do you have a sense of what the cost to operate the app is right now?
We're budgeted for 41.8, and that's the
In FY 24, yeah.
for 24.
When we look at the universe of My City isn't just one app or one service. It's a collection or a consortium of services. So we have childcare, we have the business portal, we have the jobs portal, but behind that, we have other programs that were once independent programs that are being pulled into the My City universe. So when we look at things like DataBridge and Legacy DataBridge that provides the data share between agencies, that the infrastructure surrounding that is decades old, and we're in the process of upgrading those and putting in things like master data management tools so that we can manage the large amount of data that goes through the agencies. And that's all covered under the My City universe, because at the back end, you have to build a foundation that's strong enough to support the future mission and use that to support the existing stuff as well.
Thank you. I'm going to just go back.
Sure.
Did you get any more background on the local law?
Interactive maps.
Let me just re-ask the question. I think they got it. I saw a phone being passed around, so maybe. My God, your mouse is. Sorry. Okay, so local law 66 of 2021 required DO-IT to conduct an assessment of the interactive map accessible through the 311 website or mobile device application that is used for the intake of 311 service requests and complaints in order to determine the feasibility. Can you update us on on particularly regarding the assessment of 311 interactive maps location accuracy?
Yeah, so we're currently working very closely with our partners at Esri, and we're taking a look at not just the 311 interactive maps, but New York City, the NYC maps. I mean, a lot of that stuff, again, infrastructure that was put in a long time ago. We are currently on the hunt for a unified solution across the city that would give us one mapping layer, or one map that would have multiple layers that would provide every sort of service, every sort of incident, anything that you can see on the city end. And we're currently in a scoping phase of that. I believe we're maybe about a year out from seeing something tangible.
Okay, and you're just in the scoping, but you've already assessed kind of what needs to be upgraded?
Yes, we have.
Okay. Do you have a sense of how far along you are in fixing the maps or enhancing the maps?
So we're in the scoping phase. So at this moment, we have a direction that we're set in. We have a set of requirements that we're looking at, but we're looking at the level of effort that it's going to take to do that, and then prioritizing in concert with the other work that we have going on where we can fit it in the pipeline.
Can you share any technology enhancements that are being considered to improve location accuracy for 311 and 911?
So on the foundational effort, we're looking at things like, again, Esri from a mapping perspective. 911 is a completely separate universe. When you get into next-gen 911, additional mapping capabilities will be included. Right now, 911, we have things like Rapid SOS that gives us enhanced location accuracy, but that's in place, and that's been in place for the last, I'd have to say, almost the last half a decade. So for us, looking at the foundational mapping tools, looking at how we can pull in greater accuracy from that, I think that's what we're looking at the moment.
And what are the primary challenges in improving location accuracy? And I know they're separate for 311 and 911.
I'd say the most significant challenge is the infrastructure and the services that they're dependent, that are used to provide that. A lot of that stuff is in-house. It's in-house, and it's on legacy operating systems, legacy versions of stuff, and it requires a significant uplift to replace the infrastructure and replace the underlying technology. So if it was a cloud service, it'd be a lot easier to upgrade. Because it's going to take us some time to rip and replace.
In replacing those like legacy components,
Yeah,
excuse
sure.
me, is that being addressed as part of the scoping process?
That's exactly what we're looking at as part
That's the
of the
bulk of
scope.
it. Okay.
Yep.
How does OTI collaborate with other city departments or emergency services and telecommunication to enhance location accuracy?
OTI and the city at large works very, very closely with the FCC in terms of looking at location accuracy, looking at how we can use spectrum to the best ways possible. We constantly work with our carriers to see tools and techniques that are available to give us a better sense of where someone actually is. I mean, with E911 and other tools like Rapid SOS, where a phone, if it's not giving you a great location, being able to pull down to the nearest cell tower to see where that phone actually is. I think those capabilities we have in place today. And location accuracy is highly dependent on the device that's actually providing it, right? If you're looking for mapping accuracy and making sure that things are plotted in the right places, Esri and tools like that take care of ensuring that we have a common mapping layer, we have a common GIS layer, things are provided in the right places, but a large part of what we need to determine where someone is are things that are outside of our
Right.
control, and working with our partners to get that.
Is that some of the feedback that you've received? How are you incorporating user feedback into improving these services?
Yeah, so
This is really important to Councilmember Holden. He's emphasized this multiple times.
Yes, council member Holden is very passionate about making sure that we get it right. So one of the things that we've done since becoming the Office of Tech and Innovation is we've launched a user-centric application development model, right?
Okay.
So what that means is, instead of building and then bringing someone in, we bring someone in first, or we bring a consortium of people in first to say, what's broken about this and what can be better? And we use that feedback to drive the initial design and the initial recommendations around what processes we change. We bring them back in and say, how do you feel about the look? And we do all of that before we start building. And then as we build, we continue to bring people in so that we can get their feedback in terms of the direction of the way the system is going. When we did My City, that approach was very much the same way. We brought the public in. We said, what's broken about childcare? What do you not like? What do you expect? What's a good example of a system that you interact with, that you have a lot of success with when you're applying for something? And as we built, we continuously brought the people back in. How do you feel about it, and how should we change it? So the user-centric application development model is what we're doing around incorporating customer feedback.
And to conclude, Councilmember Holden's questions, are there any financial constraints that could impact improving location services? And have you looked at other cities to see what they're doing to accomplish the same?
Yeah, so we certainly work with other cities, and we have a strong relationship with many of the big cities across the nation. And if there are any financial constraints, I think with the last 4 years have shown us since COVID came, we can't predict what we can't see. So there could be a condition under which funding has to be reprioritized in a different direction.
What cities, are there any ones that jump out at you? What are
So we're very close with cities like Chicago, LA, Atlanta. It's like we're the biggest cities in the country. We communicate with very often.
Okay, thank you. Back to My City. What you mentioned, the services that are available it's childcare, small businesses, and jobs.
That is correct.
Currently, which ones are pending?
So we have in the pipeline, we've got some upgrades that we're making to each one of those. So I think when you look at jobs came out in multiple facets. It's one, those that were looking for employment with the city. And then we brought a Jobs Front Door portal live recently, where if you're an employee looking for talent, we can get you connected so you can look at those that's applied to the city to see if they're eligible for something that you are looking for. In the childcare phase, we did initial applications. Now we're doing renewals, and soon we'll be looking at conjunctive eligibility. You apply for something else, and whether you also be eligible for childcare, we'll be looking at that too. Beyond that, we're looking at housing benefits as the next frontier. Housing benefits.
Oh, okay.
All right. So things like SCREE, DREE, looking also at how we can unify the application for other programs like Section 8 and stuff like that and get them under an umbrella.
And will Access HRA remain separate as a separate city application?
At this moment, to say that will be true definitively, I can't tell you at that moment. But what I would say is every system that renders benefit in some way, shape, or form, we're currently assessing to see how we can get one integrated experience.
Okay. Now, you mentioned the potentially incorporating SCREE and DREE. These are state programs for the most part outside of Mitchell-Lama. Is OTI utilizing any state subsidies or state funding for the out years for this?
So we are always exploring opportunities to leverage state capital where we can. This won't be the first time we're doing something that's operating at a state level. When we did childcare. Childcare is a program that might be facilitated by the city, but the rules governing it is managed at a state level. So even for the childcare portal, because we were bringing in information on a State Farm, not State Farm, the insurance company, but in the State Farm, we had to pull that in through state approval processes.
Right.
So very similarly, as we look at SCREE and DREE or anything that touches on the state end, we would work hand in hand with our partners in the state to ensure that it aligns with their standards.
And in those instances, is the state providing any kind of funding to the city to be able to have that live on the My City portal?
Outside of the funding allocated to the benefits that might trickle down from the state, specific funding to support application development efforts are not being provided by the state.
Okay. Now, in the past testimony, maybe like a year and a half ago or over a year, there was conversations in your testimony about the My City app being maintained entirely in-house. That is not the case anymore?
Yeah, victims of our success is what I would say to that.
And so my understanding is that the city's entered into a number of contracts, right?
We have.
Okay. How much is the actual spending for the development of My City?
So we can go through a financial analysis with council, but what I'd say is that answer is very complicated. So if you're looking at development that's exclusive to My City, that's I believe, as Ed pointed out, our Deputy Commissioner managed budget, we have about $41 million earmarked, but even within that $41 million, a lot of the services that are built on a foundational level will go to support things that are traditionally outside of the My City universe. So I think we can break it down piece by piece and show you how the numbers add up. And part of the reason why we had to supplement the workforce was because we wanted to ensure that as we push forward other programs, we didn't lose inertia behind the things that would impact our constituents the most. So childcare moved forward, Big Apple Connect moved forward, Jobs Portal moved forward, Chatbot moved forward, and everything moved forward at a time where we were slashing budgets because of out of necessity. But somehow we managed to get all those things through without stopping, and that required additional support because at the same time as we're building, one thing, demands are increasing in other areas, and the city workforce is only so big.
So was there cost savings in shifting from building this app totally in-house to moving with third-party vendors?
I wouldn't necessarily say there was cost savings.
Was it because of personnel that you couldn't hire, or because of vacancies?
Oh, I mean, personnel is a challenge across the entire tech space, no matter what vertical you serve, whether that's public or private sector. And hiring people at the rate that would be necessary to sustain programs like this, it's a very challenging thing to do. So I think for us, having a partner that could supplement the workforce in addition to the people that we had dedicated was the best, most expedient thing that we could do. As an administration, we focus very heavily on cost of inaction. It's very easy to sit here and tell you that, come out and make a press announcement about something that we will do, and then we'll never deliver it. And like many administrations have done before us. We said we would launch the largest municipal broadband program, and we put Wi-Fi in every public housing development. We did. We said we'd bring you a childcare portal. We did. We said we would do an AI chatbot. We did. So everything that we put our name to, we want to make sure that we actually deliver in the time we said we will.
Roughly. Yeah.
But delivered is delivered. A win is a win.
Who are the vendors, and how many of them are MWBEs?
So the vendors, I believe we went through in the last go-around, but can you just...
Oh, it's the same vendors for My City as well?
No, I thought you were asking the vendors for My City. Oh, no, you said asylum seekers.
No, yeah.
That was asylum seekers.
Come on, Commissioner.
There we go.
We're talking about the My City app. Yeah, who are the vendors?
For My City, there's a few vendors. Just to read off the top six. CDW is one of the vendors.
CW?
CDW,
CDW.
right? IBC, Innovative Business
They're-
Concepts. They're also a vendor. Unique Comp is one of their vendors.
Okay.
Rangam Consultants, Blender Box, and SHI.
And are any of those MWBEs?
IBC is MWBE, and I think
SHI is a big
that's a SHI.
Okay. And were there any RFPs issued for these vendors? A request for proposals?
Yeah, they were.
There were. Oh, okay. For all of them? I mean, for...
So it depends on the service. So some of these, when you hear some of the names, they may facilitate the procurement of software licenses. Software licenses or hardware, we don't necessarily issue RFPs for. We go out, we solution, we get quotes around the types of equipment that we're looking for, and then we send out a mini bid to see what we get back in terms of that. But for the professional services, scopes, bill of materials, times and estimate, time and expense estimates, those are all come in as part of that process for the application development work. I just want to separate those two worlds. Infrastructure,
Yeah.
products, services aren't typically part of an RFP. Application development work is.
Applicant, okay. So the, sorry. How is the agency thinking about shifting these services to in-house at some point?
Yeah, so for us, one of the things that we're looking at is our hiring and recruitment strategy to bring in more people to sustain some of the work that's being put in place. I think one of the big challenges that we have is, as the universe, again, we're victims of our success. Each program that we put out, the more consumption that we see is the more that we as OTI are being asked to do. And at that rate, we're trying to figure out better ways that we can use the collective city tech workforce towards that common mission of providing tech services across the city. As it stands right now, across the city's tech workforce, we're about 6,200 people in tech across the various agencies. OTI, as you can see, is only a portion of that. So looking at how we can take the total collective tech power and use those towards building common applications across portfolios is something that we're looking very heavily at the moment.
Okay, great. What access to data do vendors have any of these vendors have through servicing the My City portal?
So I believe that depending on what they're providing, if they're providing infrastructure and products, then they have no access to data. If they're doing application development, then they have limited access to data. We have a role-based access control system so that once a system goes into production, there's a very limited number of people that have access to anything. And we make sure that the people that have access remains in the specific service lines. You don't need to have access to our constituent data to help build a system. So we make sure that after production's done, individuals that help maintain don't have any unnecessary access to information.
Which vendor is responsible for the maintenance?
So that's depending.
Or which vendor, I guess, has access to personal information of people?
Which vendor? So I think that between the portfolio of people, the 5 or 6 people that the Deputy Commissioner of Management and Budget just mentioned, IBC would be a vendor that does QA on the back end of the system, but they usually do that in a test environment, so that doesn't necessarily mean they have access to PII. And under that, there are very few that have that kind of access. The platform that the application is built on is Salesforce. So arguably, the folks that are in Salesforce, some global administrator somewhere, but that's speculative, may have some sort of access. I can't attest to that, but most of the constituent data or all the constituent data is managed by city resources, and if it's a vendor, it's a screened vendor that's vetted.
So if there is some sort of a data breach, who is responsible for that?
If there's a data breach in any of the systems, I'm responsible.
Okay. We've had some trauma over at the DOE side, so.
Well,
I have to ask.
It's good that you haven't had any drama over here, right?
No, I said we've had trauma with data breaches.
Well,
at OTI, of course.
Yeah, it's good you had no trauma over here. It's great.
No, absolutely. Okay. All right, you have anything else? Oh, okay. Back to Councilmember Botcher.
Hi. Could you share with us what your plans are in the coming year for the 5G towers that are being put up around the city?
Oh, so we recently, as many may have known, we paused the 5G rollout due to the Link 5G. I assume you're referring exclusively to Link 5G. All right. So we paused the 5G rollout due to a number of factors on the federal approval end. Recently, we've gotten a go forward from the FCC, so we have no issues in that space. Right now, we're looking at a phased rollout, and we're working directly with community boards to let them know when they're coming and where they're going to. And I think we have a target deployment schedule, which we can share with you, that'll show you the specific number of towers that we expect to go out within the next year. In addition to looking at the towers as they currently sit, we're currently reassessing design elements to see if there are other ways that we can other ways we can bring that out. Because some of the things that we've heard very recently, or over the last year or so, is that many people aren't fans of the look and the aesthetics of the tower. So we're looking at other design options and elements from other cities that's done it to see how we can make it different.
That's great news about the design.
Yeah.
Because that's the main feedback that we get. It's like a 32-foot tall mushroom missile.
Not a missile. Not a missile.
Yeah, and it's like as big around as a like a telephone pole, and I have to believe that there's better designs out there for it. Could you tell us your process for looking into a new design potentially?
Sure. So it'll be much like the last process that we had for selecting the existing design. We went before the community boards to show the design and say this is the direction that we're going. Then we went before the Public Design Commission to get their approval to deploy, not just once but multiple times. And we selected a design based on capability and utility. Now we're looking to do something very interesting, like opening up a design competition to give New York City the opportunity to design some of its street furniture. Not saying that every one of those will be practical, but we're trying to figure out a better way that we can do it. But by involving our constituency, I think it's a way that we can get a very public forum to talk about what it's going to look like. We can do something very fun, and when something is designed, maybe do a couple of proof of concepts, limited demonstrations, and then get the public to vote on something like that.
That's a great idea. We have the best design community in the world
I agree.
here in New York City.
I agree.
And council on the west side of Manhattan, Council
Yeah.
District 3. Will you hold off on installing the previous design until we can come up with something better? Because once those things are there, how long are they going to be there?
Well, unfortunately, I would love to tell you that I will, but there's the cost of inaction. So the reason why we push in the areas that we push them into very heavily, if you look at the existing deployment schedule, it's heavily skewed towards equity districts. Now, these are communities that typically do not have access or have limited access to broadband. So we want to get that as quickly as we can, but we want to move very swiftly, as we've done on many other fronts, to see how we can get a more palatable design. You know, the thing about design is it's like an opinion. Everybody has one, but we have to figure out what pleases the most while serving utility to those that need it. So I don't want to be in a position where I stop and inadvertently impact the community of people that will continue to have no access, but I want to make sure that we move swift enough so we're not in a position where we're continuing to deploy something that also a large portion of the community doesn't feel is aesthetically pleasing.
I understand that. There's been confusion around the deployment of them, especially in some historic districts, like
Yes.
down in the West Village with these tiny streets, big old 5G tower. That's not a area like lacking in Wi-Fi access.
So I'll give you an example. Imagine being a kid that's coming from somewhere in the Bronx, right? You're here, your family migrated, or your family's here, and they're not financially stable. Now you have a device. You can use that device in home. You can use that device in your community, but you get up and you go to the Museum of Modern Art, and then you leave the museum and you want to call your mother to tell your mother you're coming home. You have no data plan. You have no cellular plan. So the only connection is to connect to a free kiosk so that you can make a FaceTime call to say, "Mom, I'm coming home." The reason why we put it in some places where the demand isn't driven solely by income is so that when people that travel that have that income limitation aren't boxed out of the system. So that's why we put it in those areas.
So the idea is, in addition to the communities where folks might not have the access in destination neighborhoods,
Exactly.
like the West Village, and what other neighborhoods would you consider like priority destination neighborhoods?
So the deployment, we have a potential deployment map, and we have zones, and then the zones are really pushed into like two categories: your business districts and your equity districts. Our focus is heavily on the equity districts. I forget the specific number. I believe it's over 70%. 90%, sorry. 90% of this phase will go into equity districts. 10% will go into districts that are non-equity districts. So in terms of other destination locations, we may have the Legacy Link kiosks already in many of those, which is why when you walk by them, it may not be as offensive physically, visually offensive. But we will certainly work on a different approach and look at how we can make that a little bit better.
I think with historic preservation and historic districts, we really should try to get the design right.
Yeah.
I know the State Office of Historic Preservation has expressed concern about the current design. I'd love to be kept up to date on the process for looking at other designs. And look, maybe we don't have to create a design from scratch.
Yeah.
When you're looking at what other cities are doing, perhaps you could bring in a new design quickly that's much better.
Yeah, and I appreciate the feedback, and we will certainly look to do just that. And I appreciate the state's concern, but at the same time, we're the city of New York, and you're a council member in the greatest city across the nation, and we're responsible for getting things done while others can sit back and just watch us. So we'll work with you hand in hand to make sure that we can do something quicker, and we'll gladly keep you up to date.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councilmember. Commissioner, can I ask just very quickly on the 311 piece, the customer satisfaction, that's based on the surveys, correct?
That is correct.
But aren't the surveys only for phone calls?
No. So if you use the 311 mobile app, if you do a phone call, or you connect through another means, you can opt in for a survey.
Oh, excuse me. So, wait. If you call in, you get prompted for a survey as well?
When you get called, you get prompted to opt in. So you
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. And they can opt in for future communication. Like if you use a 311 app, there's a button where you can check for future communication or consent for future communication. If you check that, then that's also another means in which we can deliver the survey to you.
I always do a survey
All right.
weekly. Can I ask a little bit more on capital spending?
Sure.
So this might be Deputy Commissioner again. Don't pack up just yet. I think we discussed this capital project previously. It's the upgrade of security and surveillance at PSAC 1 Phase 2 and EMS computer aided dispatch system enhancement.
PSAC 1.
Yeah.
Yep, the Public Safety Answering Center.
What is the status update on project completion?
Yeah, so as we talk about, before I give it to the Deputy Commissioner for Management and Budget to go through the specific projects, one of the things I'd just like to point out, since we're talking about capital, a lot of the constraints that we have around capital isn't a city constraint, it's a debt ceiling, a debt capacity constraint. And regarding the debt capacity, I'd gladly defer to my colleagues at OMB to talk about the reasons why and our limitations on that front. But in terms of the program, I'd gladly give to Deputy Commissioner Pemberton.
So we're looking at mostly security upgrade at PSAC 1. The budget is $4.7 million, and this project is currently ongoing, and I would have to get back to you on the actual projection end date, but it covers basically replacing barriers, installing guard boots, all perimeter type external work for PSAC 1.
Oh, exterior work.
Right.
And do you anticipate needing additional capital funding?
No, at this time,
I mean, you couldn't get it now if you needed it, but do you anticipate it?
Debt capacity.
Right. But do you have a sense, or do you think you have everything you need?
right. This is pretty recent, so we was able to revise our budgets at the time. So this money is set aside for what we project for PSAC 1, and then for PSAC 2, similar external work has to be done for safety barriers, and that's at $1.6 million.
And as part of the effort that we're doing to renegotiate a lot of the contracts, especially on the capital end, we're trying the best that we can to pacify any new needs that we have that are coming through reclaiming some of that savings money and repurposing it in that direction.
Okay. Can you explain what the CityNet upgrade is?
Oh, so sure. CityNet is the backbone network that supports communication throughout most of the agencies in the city.
Okay.
Now, the reason why I say most, because not every agency is what we consider to be a CityNet agency. Some of them are partner agencies. So the CityNet upgrade basically takes the capacity, that's the amount of traffic that we can support and the speed at which we can support that traffic, and provides a significant upgrade. It also creates additional resiliency so that if we were to lose a site or a piece of fiber in the ground were to break, we wouldn't interrupt the city's operating network. So that's what the CityNet upgrade is about.
And that is that what phase 3 is?
Phase 3 is, it's a multi-phase plan where we're updating the backbone core network, and then we're moving beyond the core network to update the connection points into the network. So phase 3 is the next step in both upgrading the core and the edge components.
Okay, thank you. Can you provide the committee with an update on the citywide data center network upgrade project?
This citywide data center upgrade project?
Yeah, the citywide data center network upgrade.
Okay, so it's a different version. So CityNet is the wide area network. It's how we connect multiple sites together. The data center network upgrade project is focused on how do we connect all of our assets that live in the data center itself. So your server, your storage, anything that's your network security appliances, anything that's in the physical data center, updating the core network that supports the distribution within the data center itself. And that project is a part of our FIM, Foundational Infrastructure Management Project. And like that project is on track, and it's ongoing. And when you look at network upgrades and programs like that, we are in a state of perpetual change, because as you upgrade some components, other components, they require upgrading. So it's an ongoing effort to make sure the city's network is up to the latest and greatest.
Okay. Thank you. Now I just want to look into some exciting announcement from OTI, certainly regarding the AI action plan. Can you briefly provide an overview of the plan and how it aims to better serve New Yorkers?
Sure. So I think as a city, one of the things that we've done, very much like creating the Office of Tech and Innovation, is we want to ensure as we embrace new technologies, we do it in a sane and rational way. Now, I'm sure many of you have heard artificial intelligence, and some of you, if you're a child of, not to date myself, but if you're a child of the 80s, you might think Terminator, you might think something like that. We're still a little ways away from that. But as a city, the AI action plan is positioned to help us build a consortium, both from external stakeholders, industry, and internal stakeholders, and help guide our investments in the artificial intelligence space. The city is no stranger to AI. I mean, we've invested in AI and AI-like tools for the better part of the last decade. The most evident place where you can see that is around cybersecurity. Our weekly average in terms of cyber threats is around 90 billion. Right? We take that 90 billion and we distill that down to less than 50 things that anyone looks at, and we do that all through artificial intelligence. In addition to that, I mentioned earlier the My City chatbot. The first foray out was to help our small business community and figure out how they can get a business launched in the city. The AI action plan and the committees surrounding the plan will continue to look at the things that are in the AI portfolio to make sure that whatever we invest in, they're sound and rational investments, and they go to serve the best interests of the most people.
Thank you. Can you talk a little bit about what the plan is around? You mentioned cybersecurity, around particularly service delivery.
Around cybersecurity service delivery?
No. You touched on cybersecurity as part of the AI action plan. A little bit more on like the service delivery component. I know that you mentioned it's got to be safe. It's got to serve a purpose. Are you all how far along are you in the service delivery piece?
So in the service delivery piece, what we're looking at is how we can build a pipeline where people can consume artificial intelligence like services without having to invest individually in rebuild. Like, how can we build sustainable technology? In addition to that, we look at the business end of the spectrum to see what we're delivering and how we can use AI to help us be better at delivering certain things. The best example we have of this is something that we're looking at now. Many of you, at home, or in your email, you'll get a notice from a bank saying that you're pre-approved for a credit card of some kind. And in that pre-approval notice, you'll get a threshold saying that you have a pre-approval, here's your credit limit, and here's the date that you have to accept the offer by, post the date it's going to expire. Very similarly, we're trying to put something in place around public benefits. You apply for childcare. Why can't I give you a projection based on your childcare application of the things that you are pre-approved to apply for? So using AI to do better benefits access is one of the areas that we want to lean in. Also around the communication phase. Since we spoke about 311 earlier, one of the things I'll tell you is an interesting fact, is that over 70% of the calls in 311 doesn't result in an agency creating a service request for anything, right? Over 70%. So 311 in a sense is the information's largest information service line. So what we're looking to do now, very similar to how we did with the chatbot, for 311, how can we get an interactive voice assistant? Again, 311 is non-emergency calls, and use that voice assistant to help triage calls as quickly as possible. All right. Now, looking at the investments that we're going to make in that space, looking at the partners that we're going to leverage in that space, having an external committee that's able to say, all right, here's where we've seen across the industry people not get this right. This is where you should guide it. And as a city, making sure that as we deploy that service, the other people that are a part of our larger team can leverage that service to do better good across the city. So that's on the service delivery side. We're looking at both the products we want to deliver, and we want to look at the ways in which we build so that it becomes reusable so people can build more.
Is there any thought about expediting the contracts backlog, utilizing AI, particularly with Mox, to help address the continued backlog?
Yeah, so I think one of the things, especially when we look at AI around the workforce, as I said around 311, that we want to put a voice assistant, the name of the game is not reducing the amount of city resources, it's making sure that they spend more time doing things that helps more people. So if someone is calling to figure out what trash collection is, we don't need someone to answer the phone and say, hey, this is where your trash collection is going to be. Or is it a snow day? Will my garbage be picked up? Like we want to make sure that you get that information as quickly as you can. When we look at other things like, as you pointed, contracts and benefits analysis, there's a lot of work that's mundane, it's repetitive, that we have people doing. And leveraging AI as a tool where it can help them do that work easier, something that we're looking at.
Okay.
And in addition to that,
Particularly with Mox.
we're looking across the spectrum. So with Mox, with DSS, we're looking across the umbrella of places where we can do this.
Okay, great. Now, congrats. I know the folks comprising the external steering committee was announced today.
Yesterday.
Excuse me. So great. The internal steering committee. There's a difference, right, between the internal steering committee, which is just agency to agency.
Which is agencies, correct?
Okay. Will this steering committee operate under OTI?
The chair of the steering committee or the committee is under me, it's the CTO. But we have representation from every agency, and just like any of the city's tech steering committees or authorities or boards, they operate under the guidance of OTI.
Okay. And is there particular? I know how steering committees work, but do they use funding? Do they have any funding? And are they using funding from OTI or additional sources?
So there's no funding specific to the committees themselves. Under OTI, we have a strategic initiatives division that's focused on building a future strategy of how we integrate future technologies and on the bleeding edge. And anything that we're using to support this would be coming out of that umbrella.
Okay. Is the city coordinating with the state or advocating to the state for any funding support related to the initiative, the steering committee, the bigger action plan?
So we work in concert with the state on many fronts, on the cybersecurity front, on the AI front.
But are you asking them for money?
Oh, well, we ask them for money all the time. Yes.
Specific to
Specific to
the AI action plan, yeah.
We have not asked them for money yet.
Yeah,
all right,
you're in your-
on the AI action plan, because we need a tangible initiative to coalesce around to say we need money for.
Okay, but you
We could,
could?
We could.
And maybe.
maybe.
Okay. Now we're almost done. The action plan talks about procurement standards, about developing AI-specific procurement standards. Can you share any of those procurement standards yet?
So procurement standards, including making sure that you have a part of the Office of Tech and Innovation is also the Office of Information Privacy, making sure that you have privacy riders, making sure that you have cyber riders, making sure that you're looking at the contract terms. A large portion of what makes AI intuitive is computing cost and capacity, making sure that as things increase and we increase our dependence on these types of tools, we're not inadvertently walking into a trap and finding ourselves consumed by operating expense costs. So looking at everything from the products that are being purchased and making sure that we have the appropriate security and privacy riders in place is some of the things that we're looking at.
And who's involved in the development of these procurement standards?
So the entire committee, both our advisory board and our committee. Yep.
Oh, great. So the agency to agency.
The
and then-
agency and the advisory boards.
Okay.
So if you think of it as like two funnels, one tells us the outside perspective. Here are things that you're purchasing that you should consider, so on and so forth. And from the inside, it's like, okay, here's the difficulties that we have with procurement. Here's the things that we're likely to buy. How can we buy these things smarter? Like those are the two different ends.
What is the idea between both committees? How often are they planning to meet, discuss?
So we're planning to have at least quarterly meetings on both sides, and on the city internal side, we had our initial kickoff meeting very recently, and we plan to have monthly meetings in the AI space.
Monthly meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
monthly team group meetings, but there's working groups that have been established, like public safety, so on and so forth. And the working groups will determine their cadence depending on necessity.
Okay. Are council members allowed in any of these working
Sure,
groups?
we can get council involved.
Come on.
Well, the more the merrier.
Come on, Commissioner. Well, please put me on a short list. Local Law 35 of 2022 mandates reporting on AI use across city government. We have been unable to find the report for 2023. Do you have it, or can it be shared with the committee?
So we will find the report and we'll make sure that you get it.
Okay. And then my last question, I messed with this the other day, but how is the AI tool in the SBS site going under my city?
It's going quite well. I mean, we've got a lot of feedback from the public. The feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. Many restaurant business owners have said starting a business in the city would have been significantly less complex if I had it when I started. And many of those that are just trying to navigate the landscape are figuring out faster ways of how to move around. In fact, we've had some requests recently from other cities, other states, about how we did that deployment, and they're asking if we can help them solution their own. So public sentiment, public feedback has been very, very positive.
Thank you. All right. Second wind, or no? I'm kidding. This is it. I think that was it. I think we want to move on to the public, but thank you so much, Commissioner. Thank you to your team for all of your thorough responses. I look forward to reading through some of the follow-ups.
No worries. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. Is that they can leave? Okay. Now we're gonna switch to the public. Okay. Thank you.
We'll now be moving to public testimony. For those wishing to testify in person, please see the Sergeant of the Arms if you haven't already and fill out a testimony slip. Even if you have registered online, please still fill out a testimony slip with the sergeants in the back of the room. For those wishing to testify or who are on Zoom, after the in-person testimony, we will move on to virtual testimony. Those on Zoom will be called and a prompt to unmute yourself will appear on your computer. If anyone is watching the live stream and would like to testify, you may email testimony or you may register to testify at council.nyc.gov/testify. Anyone who is testifying in person or on Zoom is encouraged to submit testimony through the council website or via email at testimony@council.nyc.gov. All testimony must be on topic. This hearing is being live streamed and recorded. Witnesses may not use a recording device to film themselves or the proceeding while they are testifying. I'll now call the names of the first panel. If you could come up to the table in the front. Gregory Morris and Daniel Golier. Yeah. Two? Yeah. All right. You may begin when ready.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chair, for making this time. I do appreciate the opportunity to speak to the committee. My name is Greg Morris. I am CEO of the New York City Employment and Training Coalition, the largest city-based workforce development association in the country. We serve as the industry voice of workforce development providers in the city, serving a couple 100,000 New Yorkers every year. It's our coalition that's relied upon to connect New Yorkers of all ages in every borough to quality jobs and living wage. Part of that expectation is to serve to track the value and impact of job readiness and training, serve as a resource to employers, and advocate for the budgetary, legislative, and regulatory actions required to maximize access to opportunity. I'm here because there are two committees where I think are absolutely essential to thinking about our workforce development, and that is technology and it's economic development. It's the intersection of those two pieces of the puzzle which ensure that there is access and opportunity and a pathway to inclusivity and equity for those seeking job training that leads to employment pathways, not just in tech, although we know that tech jobs cut across the sector in total. I wanted to be here today to say a few things, and that is we know that the tech ecosystem is a driving force for economic development across the entire city, offering high-wage jobs, but diversity remains a central complexity and issue. While my testimony has more to say about this, three recommendations. One would be, first and foremost, that the blueprint for an inclusive economy in New York City, which is focused on how it is that our city thinks about job opportunities, is something that I think it would be valuable for this committee to think about tracking progress as we build a tech talent ecosystem. As a reminder, there is no workforce development committee within the City Council, so the value that you place on tracking progress towards outcomes for New Yorkers to find pathways to technology-related jobs and opportunity is critical. In addition, I believe an investment or maximizing access to a bridge to tech type program for adult seekers of technology pathways is critical. We have not seen investment in adult pathways. We need that. And of course, as you flagged, digital literacy matters more than ever. There should not be a digital divide in New York City. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Golier, and I'm the founder of the Civic School Maximum New York. I want to thank the committee and the chair for hosting this hearing and every hearing. There's a rapidly increasing role for this committee's work as we move forward into the 21st century, and not just because of software-based capabilities that are expanding, but we do seem to be entering a new era of American dynamism that's driving a much faster pace of innovation in hard tech. So why am I here talking to you for a budget hearing? Well, because in my professional role as a civics instructor and in my personal role as a citizen, I'm seeing a sea change within and adjacent to the tech world that I want to highlight for the committee. Far more individuals are interested in learning how their city government works, and more specifically how this committee works, what OTI does, and how they can bring their staggering amount of talent to bear to help the city. Specific to this hearing, they also have high interest in learning how city spending works and how resource allocation works in tech. In the previous committee meeting, as well as this one, you'll notice interested members of the public more regularly attending, although a few of them did have to leave. But you'll notice a lot of people are taking time off of work to come to this committee hearing. I think that's something of particular note. How many committees can say that they have that kind of trend going on? I'm looking forward to the near future when this committee is standing room only, and to help integrate a wider swath of the tech world into the work and the needs of this committee and the council. There are a lot of excited people out there who are interested in becoming productively involved in a very highly informed fashion, and I look forward to facilitating that. Thank you, and I'll be uploading a copy of this testimony separately.
Thank you. Greg, can I ask you a question on the I mean, this was a budget hearing, but on the workforce piece, on the digital literacy piece, this is the first time the commissioner said OTI is now invested in digital literacy. What do you think, knowing kind of the trajectory of what the position was 2 years ago, where it's like, we're not in charge of digital literacy, to now saying like, we get it and we're invested now. What do you think are some of the, what should we be calling on them for? What are some of the benchmarks that we should say this equals success?
I was interested in hearing that as well, and that was
They don't have it today, right?
Yeah. I was.
But you're
I
the
was-
expert.
I was struck by that. I think my first reaction in hearing that was, is this particular unit equipped to be able to connect New Yorkers in this particular way? And the history I would think here is that folks taking on new pathways with shortages in municipal workforce anyway leads me to believe that perhaps the investment of time, resource, and otherwise may not necessarily be in place to be able to ensure that those pathways are being created. Again, I heard reference to we're building something, we're trying to make something happen, we're engaging community representatives related to different agencies to make this a possibility. But again, the investment counts. And unless there's an investment, unless it's part of the budget, I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah. And do you think this, and this could be for both of you, do you think on the pathway for more New Yorkers being placed in tech jobs, do you think that there is particular communities that we should be focusing on, demographics, age, race, zip codes that we should be focusing on more? I completely agree, it is about investment, but there are holes in the workforce in general. So are there certain communities that we should be investing in? I was encouraged to hear the commissioner say that it was not the 20% of NYCHA residents that have yet to be connected is not specific to age necessarily, but like just lacking trust that this is like a viable program. Are there opportunities for specific groups that we should be focusing on right now?
I mean, in general, I think it cross-cuts throughout the entire population, and a lot of people are looking to break into tech, and they're coming from somewhere else. So the big question is, well, how do you do that?
Yeah.
And of course, there are established schools, there are established coding boot camps, but there's also a tremendous grassroots movement that I've certainly witnessed of people helping each other learn to code. There are new, in your district specifically, there's a new community college called Fractal University. That's sort of a bootstrapped thing that has its own.
It's called what?
Fractal University.
Okay.
That has its own coding boot camps. I mean, in general, I do think there's strong interest from the population. There are so many new institutions that are springing up. So, I mean, and hackathons that come with them that are open to wide amounts of people. So if I were to say what the executive branch could do or what the council could do, the amount of partnerships that are possible are huge. It's just a matter of connecting with that list of people that already exist. But it's very encouraging to know that those large groups of people do exist.
Yeah.
If I could just add one thought to that, it would be to say that part of what I wanted to lead with was because I know we're in a difficult budget environment and it's going to maintain that, I think, challenge moving forward despite the City Council's awareness of dollars that perhaps other folks hadn't been recognizing. The investments that this administration related to technology have largely been about young people in school. It's been about CUNY, which is a smart strategic investment. It's been about thinking about pathways specific to public schools, right? So you're seeing that. What's missing is the reskilling, upskilling options. What's missing is folks who need access to digital literacy. Programs, again, like Bridge to Tech, the Bridge to Tech model that the City Council had championed in years past, which was specifically about helping folks on public assistance be able to find IT pathways by virtue of helping with academic remediation, training programs, advanced training programs. Those particular elements were all critical to folks who had wanted to have access to careers in tech, but didn't typically have those pathways or those entry points. So the investment that was made to be able to do that led them on that path. Again, we don't see the investment in the adult workforce in this particular city at this particular moment. Reskilling, upskilling options, the general supportive services, remediation skills, advanced training, connectivity. The focus is on schools. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's a long-term strategy. What's happening now? We have talent that's available to us, and we need to invest in that.
Thank you. Thank you both so much. Thank you for sticking it out and testifying. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah.
The next panel of witnesses, Alex Stein. You may begin when ready.
And I'm here because. Hey guys, it's me, Alex Stein. I just want to say this has been a terrible meeting. I mean, it's been so boring. I just listening to all these people drone on. And let me tell you something, Jennifer. I love big booty Latinas. So I sit here and I see, yes, I love.
You are out of line.
Well, I can't say I love big booty Latinas? How do you figure that?
That
Wait,
is
how
the
is that
first
a
response? I'm
So
gonna
my
have to
my
do.
First Amendment right, I'm allowed to say I like big booty Latinas. How is that a crime? Is that because you're a big booty Latina?
That is the second time.
Wait, how is
Do
that?
you have a comment
No, I
to
do
make
have a
about
comment
today's
about
budget
technology,
hearing?
but you're yelling at me because I'm talking about big booty
not
Latinas.
yelling
Like,
at you. What
listen,
is the-
AOC is my favorite big booty Latina. You're my second favorite big booty Latina. So don't get all, butthurt about that. I still think you're a beautiful lady. Little thick, but I like them thick. I mean, I don't want some skinny mini girl. I want somebody that has some cushion for the pushing. You know what I mean, Jennifer? So this is the problem, is the tech here in New York City, it's absolutely ridiculous. Now my wife has got her OnlyFans on mycity.com. She's on My City showing her vagina for like $5.99 a month. And I know that you could probably make some
what you
money.
call it?
Yeah, that's what My City, Jennifer. What? What's wrong? Keep it clean. Well, do you know the First Amendment? I'm allowed. Hey, no.
Twice already.
Do you not understand the First Amendment? I'm allowed to say whatever I want. No, you don't understand the First Amendment. Okay, then I'm allowed to say big booty Latina.
Have him run his
Big
time.
booty Latina is not a crime to say that, officer. But this guy is such a dummy. He doesn't understand. It's not a crime. I can go to a meeting. I can call him a dummy. I can call you a big booty Latina. I can call you an idiot. I can call you a mask wearer, probably 5 times vaccinated. And I know you're probably going to get myocarditis. I can say all that. I'm a pimp on a blimp. Y'all don't understand this. I've sued y'all and I've won. So I can call you a big booty Latina. I can say whatever I want.
Thank you.
Primetime 99. Yeah, y'all gonna learn the law. I'm a pimp on a blimp. Y'all think y'all can play with me? Look me up, Jennifer. Look me up. Pimp on a blimp.
I wouldn't waste the data on
No,
looking
you wouldn't
you up.
waste it.
Seeing no one else in person to testify and having no other members of the public on the Zoom to testify, turn it back to the chair for a closing statement.
All right, thank you. That concludes today's budget hearing. Let's end on a high note, y'all. If you see him, keep it moving, y'all.